Okay, we are recording. I have a very special guest. This is my first guest that I actually don't know personally. I just met her just now. We have with us Samantha Oliver. Samantha, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Now tell me, where are you video chatting us from, and where do you work, and what do you do?
So I am video chatting from my parents' guest room actually right now. They're up in Georgetown. I live in Austin. I work at Effective Spend. I am a digital media strategist. So I work in digital marketing, Google advertising, Facebook, all that good stuff.
Really cool. And Samantha was introduced to me by my wife, Leah, who also works at Effective Spend.
Yes.
And I think a lot of students right now are probably wondering, like, what does a strategist in a digital marketing firm do? You know,
Yeah.
what's going on at Effective Spend, which is an Austin-based company?
Yep. So right now, as I'm sure everyone is well aware, we are working from home. So we typically day to day will work with clients, a lot of report writing, a lot of calculations, trying to determine, how profitable companies are, making sure that all of their performance is in line with business-wise what their goals are. Right now, things are obviously a little weird, so trying to communicate as best as we can with everyone. A lot of it is helping companies understand that everything's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. Things will be okay.
So you're kind of like a consultant in that you're looking at their overall business strategy. You're not just working on marketing for them. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So some companies allow us a little bit more freedom than others. But yeah, for the most part, a lot of the time we do act as consultants for the company as a whole, but we kind of try to put more of a marketing spin on it. So we'll take a look at some of their web pages and say, hey, here's what you could be doing better. It's going to benefit what we're doing, but it's also going to benefit you in the long run.
And but the primary focus is on like the digital side of marketing for these companies.
Cool. Yep. Yeah. So we typically don't do any of your more traditional marketing, whether it's print marketing or like podcast marketing. None of that's necessarily what we do. Sometimes we will branch out into that, but yeah, for the most part, we focus on digital side of things.
Now, can you give me a couple examples of the companies that you personally have been working with, just so students know?
Yeah, so I tend to work more on the business to business side. One of our biggest clients is Swift Filings. Basically what they do is offer legal help online to people who are looking to start their own company, legal help to companies who are already in existence. A lot of my clients as well tend to be more tech focused. So, software as a service kind of companies is what we tend to do.
So maybe not companies that students might know, not
probably not. No, unfortunately, I don't get any of the cool companies.
That's okay. Well, let's walk me through, like, where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go to college? And what other jobs did you have before this job here at Effective Spend?
Yeah. So I went to high school at Georgetown High School. I also took AP Calc BC in my senior year. I did not take the AP test. I already knew I was going to take calculus. I already knew I was going to take calculus again in college. So I didn't see a point in stressing out over it. I went in as a chemical engineer, ended up switching over to mechanical engineering my sophomore year.
Where'd you go?
I went to University of Alabama.
Oh, okay.
So
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Yes, sir. I took 4 semesters of various calculus up until Diff EQ. Past that, all of our classes really were very math focused and engineering. I've primarily focused on audio engineering, so there was a lot of calculus 3 in that, surprisingly. So right now, don't do a ton of calculus. My brother is an electrical engineer at Alabama as well, so I do tend to help him a little bit, but he is very quickly outpacing me on the math skills.
Now, did you go straight from University of Alabama to Effective Spend?
I did not. So I actually went, when I graduated undergrad, I actually stayed on another year and got my master's in business with a focus in digital marketing. From there, I came back to Texas, actually worked at a small engineering company here, local, helping them build out a beta product, and then proceeded into effective spend. So a little bit of engineering background, but not a ton.
Why did you decide going from chemical engineering to get a master's in business with specifically digital marketing?
So a few different things along the path here. My first love has always been music. So that's kind of what pushed me into mechanical engineering, really focused on the audio side of things.
Sorry.
At at Alabama, they have a program called the STEM Path to MBA. So anyone, you can apply for it as a freshman. Basically, if you are within a STEM discipline, it's a program where you take undergraduate business classes throughout the time, and then it's a 1-year program to get your MBA. So that, I was in the inaugural class of that. It literally just started the summer before I went to school there. So went kind of that path, took a digital marketing class, realized that was kind of the path I wanted to go during my grad school time. It was not as traditional marketing, but it still used some of our kind of tech skills, some of our, outside of the box thinking, analytical skills that we learned in engineering, and kind of applied it in a little bit different way.
So you saw an opportunity with this 5th-year program. You took advantage of it. You ended up in a class that you really liked, and you're like, hey, I'm going to do this.
Yep, that pretty much is exactly what happened.
Keeping options open, taking advantage of opportunities. That's good lessons there.
Absolutely.
So tell me, let's switch over to math. What kind of math do you use on a daily basis at Effective Spend?
Mostly pretty basic calculations. A lot of it is return on ad spend. So how much revenue are we generating per amount of spend? Percentage wise, how many people are clicking through our ads based on how many people have seen our ads? How much are we paying per click? So most of it's going to be money based or percentage based.
Simple ratios that you
very
are
simple, very simple ratios.
Comparing over across of the board with competitors,
exactly,
and everything like that.
Yep.
And probably a lot of it is in spreadsheets.
Yes, Excel has been our best friend. My direct manager is actually an Excel wizard, so he has helped a lot with teaching me. It's been a long time since I've had to do advanced Excel calculations, so kind of nice to have someone who knows it very well to help with the VLOOKUPs and everything coming back, all that good stuff. So
gotta love
yeah.
Now, where did you learn all this Excel stuff? Because man, every single person I talked to so far has talked about the use of spreadsheets in their job. And it's all right, where are we learning about these spreadsheets? Where did you learn about spreadsheets?
It was probably my junior year of college. We had a class where almost all of our engineering work was done in spreadsheets. That was how he graded it. That was how we calculated everything out. We basically had different labels of, here's this variable, had to show the calculation, perform the calculation. That's how we took the class. So that was really where I started picking up on a lot of Excel work, at least in terms of calculations. When I got into graduate school, we did a little bit more with macros and going through and automating some more stuff, a little bit more coding on the back end of Excel. So learned a little bit there, did not do very well in that class, but we made it through. And then, you pick stuff up just day to day on the job. Things, you can learn every function in the book, but there's still going to be stuff that you have to figure out on your own. Yep. So there's a lot of knowledge sharing that goes on in our company, and I'm sure across multiple agencies, between people that, when you learn something, you pass it along and help others.
Very cool. I've talked to so many people who say spreadsheets are so important, and yet, we'll talk about maybe if you have questions later. Education always lags, and in lag of education, the big lag is the use of spreadsheets in any type of class it could be applied to. Anyways, tell me about your experience with high school math and college math. What was your attitude towards it? How did you do in it? Why did you go into engineering? Talk about that.
Yeah. So growing up, math was one of those things that I was good at, but I never necessarily liked. So I always excelled in math, with the exception of algebra. My algebra 1 teacher was awful, which unfortunately is, the base of a lot of math you learn. So had to really teach myself algebra basically my junior year of high school. That was not fun. So got into calculus, did okay in calculus. I think that definitely was my lowest. It was the first time I got into a math class where I did not get A's. And that was kind of a shock to me. So it was a learning experience for sure, but I think taking it and then really prepared me for going into college. At least when I was in high school, we only had probably 25, 30 people in the class for calculus. So you got a little bit more hands-on with the teacher, a little bit more, one-on-one time to learn and ask questions. You don't necessarily get that in college, especially if you take Calc 1. That tends to be an across-the-board class. A lot of people take it. A lot of different majors take it. So your class sizes are going to be a lot larger. Mine, I was in the honors college, so it was a little bit smaller, but I still think there were probably 70, 80 people in my class.
Wow.
So you don't necessarily get, if you have questions, it's harder to ask. So I think taking calculus in high school really prepared me to go into that. I already had some of that knowledge, already kind of knew what I was doing. As you get into some of the higher up classes, I will say it gets, obviously the material gets more difficult, but you have to be prepared for teachers who don't necessarily speak English very well, who maybe aren't, they're more focused on some of their research or getting tenure. So you have to kind of be prepared to work with your other students. I know we had a lot of study groups going, trying to get through all of this, but I think for me, it was kind of just building those analytical skills, trying to work on the different processes. If you have the process down, you can really get through any equation you need to be. But for me, getting that base ground, I think was the most important.
So did I hear this correctly? You said you didn't like math, but you were good at it. Is that correct?
Correct.
But then you ended up engineering. So it's just like, well, I'm good at this. I might as well stick with it.
Basically, I knew going into college, I did not want to be an engineer.
But get an engineering degree and I'll get you into a graduate school or something like that?
It more was kind of like my dad said, 30 years ago, a business degree was sort of that baseline degree that you could get and it would get you anywhere. At this point, I feel like engineering is turning into that. It does build those good just thinking skills and builds good skills, even if you don't necessarily want that knowledge. So for me, it was more about building those skills, marketable skills that I could take anywhere I wanted.
Right. If you get a degree in engineering, people know you're smart and you work hard. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a good advice from your dad.
Yeah. I hated it at the time and I fought it for probably 3 of my 5 years there. But eventually, it all worked out. So
yeah, you stuck through it. You ended up in a good graduate program and now you're at a job you're enjoying.
Exactly. So it all works out in the end. And I hate that he gets to say, I told you so.
Now, do you use any calculus in your job?
Unfortunately, I do not.
But you do. You probably look at how things are trending over time, growth rates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, but it's funny. It's like the applications of calculus kind of limited, especially when you get outside of engineering.
Yeah, and that is something for anyone who's considering engineering to keep in the back of their heads as well. My brother fights with that a lot. Is he goes through the motions and he hates that. He's like, I hate solving for these equations. I don't understand. What am I ever going to use this for? Why am I learning this? And you really, at least in our program, you really don't start learning those things until probably second semester, sophomore year. Yep. So it takes a while to really get into those applications. And you kind of just have to trust the process for a while of, at some point, I'm going to use this equation. And you do. That was very clear when I started taking audio engineering classes, we really started diving into some of the derivatives of everything, working through these very long processes and very long equations, learning how they came about. But yeah, it did take a while. So that's something to keep in the back of your head, that you're not necessarily going to see the application right away.
Yeah. Okay. That's good advice. But it is teaching you good analytical skills. It is teaching you how to work hard. You'll eventually get there. But I like how, sometimes application is tough to say, but you are developing analytical skills. Sometimes I miss that. All right, go back in time to your high school self. Maybe you're talking to a current high school senior right now. If you could give them one piece of advice for math or just for anything, my students right now, they kind of have been applying, they have their acceptance letters, they're making decisions, maybe they've made their decision. What would you tell yourself or this student?
For me, and it's going to sound so cliche, I would say that, don't try to, try not to stress about things. Like you're 17, 18, 19 years old. You have so much time. I know it doesn't seem like it, especially right now when we're all kind of locked at home, but worst comes to worst, if you hate something, you can change your major, you can change classes. Like you're not stuck in anything. I pleaded to change my major away from engineering, and eventually I found something within engineering that I loved. But if you hate engineering or you hate math, don't do it. Like just don't. You have time to change it. It's your decision. I can say my last semester of senior year in college, I took 2 engineering classes. Past that, I took fun classes. So just enjoy your time. Enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy it, then you have that power to change it. Yeah.
And if you get away from math or courses like that, just make sure you learn how to use Excel, because everybody.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, thank you for your time. Do you have anything for me? Any questions that you have about education and AP calculus or something like that?
Trying to think. Nothing right off the bat.
So let me tell you one thing I noticed, how you said you took BC calculus, but you didn't take the exam.
Yep.
For my students, unless they're going to be an engineer, unless they're going to need calculus 1, 2, 3, or 4, I tell all of them, take the exam and use the credits. Don't waste your time in a business calculus 1 class. Use as many credits as you can. Did you have any other AP classes that you took and you used credits for?
I had a few. We were one of those high schools that had like joint ACC classes as well. So I tended to take those community college classes. Yeah, I actually came in basically at sophomore level with my level of credits.
Class is important for the younger kids out there.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of knew going into the year that I wasn't going to take the AP test. I just wanted to go ahead and start building some of that knowledge before I got into college.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you go from taking an AP calculus class in high school to trying to take like a business level math class in college, you are going to hate it.
Because it's a step down.
Yes.
Okay.
I saw some of my business, I was in a sorority, and I saw some of my sorority sisters who were in business classes, and I was like, I could not. I mean, it's very basic, like
good.
Very basic algebra. Don't do it. I promise you're going to be miserable.
I feel like a lot of colleges out there, for whatever reason it may be, are really pushing kids to not use AP credits and to take more introductory classes, like introductory math. And
yeah.
You say it's so easy. It's like, don't waste your time, right?
Right.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you back at it. This is Samantha Oliver, strategist at Effective Spend. I appreciate your time.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.